Okay, hello everyone. Today I want to talk to you about how to become a strategist. It's actually pretty easy. We are here to debunk a myth that you need to be a hardcore developer, a Linux core developer to be able to be a strategist, because that's not true. Actually, the most important thing to become a strategist is to write a strategy. And to do that, you have to understand how things work. That's much more important than writing complicated code or fancy stuff. The important thing is to understand the financial aspects and how the protocols interact between them. Seems simple. It's not that simple, but learning Solidity is much more simple. So let's go. What are the vaults and what are the strategies? Okay, the vaults are like a piggy bank. They're super simple. You just deposit tokens, and the strategies are going to grab tokens from the strategies to invest them. In the strategies, we have something that we call the want token. The want token is the token that you want to accumulate more. So it's going to be compounding that token. That's what the strategies do. These are the definitions by Andre, which are quite interesting because you can think as vaults and strategy to be complicated, but they are pretty simple. Okay, let's get into some technical details about the vaults. Thank you. The vaults are written in Viper. The idea is not to complicate your life with Viper. The thing is that you're not going to be interacting with the vault code a lot. Most of the interactions between the strategies and the vaults are already coded in the base strategy. The benefits of having the vault as an ERC20 is that you will be able to transfer it because it's a share. It's just a share. You're going to be able to do leverage, which is cool, and any other thing that you do with an ERC20 are more boring, actually. The vault are going to keep track of your shares, the price per share, which is the value that is going to accrue when you get more money, when you get yield. And the good thing is immutable code. We're not using any proxy weird stuff because we want our users to be sure that they are going to be using exactly the same code every single time. That's important because you can audit the code and you can check what we're doing with your money, which is super important. With the V2 design, the big highlight, multiple strategies, up to 20 strategies. That's super important because it's super difficult to deploy big chunks of money into a single protocol. So with multiple strategy, what we achieve is to be able to deploy smaller portions into different protocols with different strategies. And we use the Keeper network. It's a decentralized bot network. So we keep everything decentralized and with automation. Well, we wanted to make it more complicated, so we wrote the strategy in Solidity. Actually, that makes it more like easier because it's more popular and you have inheritance. So what we did is we coded, as I told you before, everything to interact with the vault in another contract, the base strategy.sol. So you're able to import that contract, inherit it, and you don't have to code all that boring stuff that's always the same. You're going to have to code only the main part of your strategy, the investment part, which is the fun part actually. The strategy is going to manage the accounting, report the profits and the loss to the vault. It's going to invest, uninvest, collect the rewards, and recycle them. We're going to see how it works later in the presentation. And it's also going to do all the heavy lifting, like checking the slippage, harvesting the returns, which is collecting the rewards, and keeping the collateral ratio healthy, which is for strategies that are debt-based, like a MakerDAO CDP. You don't have to manually check your CDP every time so you don't get liquidated. The strategy is going to do it for you. So, well, this is really cool because it gives you an idea of how a vault is composed. This is the USDC vault. This is from a few days ago. So you're going to see that we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 strategies, if I'm counting right, that are attached to the vault. Every single strategy has a different percentage allocation because it doesn't matter that we have 8 or 9 strategies. We're not going to assign the same amount of capital to each of them. We assign the capital based on simulations to achieve the best APY, and also we cap the percentage we assign by the risk that the strategy has. So we want to keep the funds as safe as possible. And also, you're going to notice that the last 3 strategies, they have 0 capital allocation. That's really cool, because we can have new strategies ready when the opportunity comes, and I'll assign capital when it's the best moment, because we want to maximize yield all the time. Okay, here's another graph about how the vaults and the strategies interact. The vault is the smart contract front end, to call it somehow, for the user. The user is never going to interact with the strategy directly. We don't want that. For security reasons, we only let the user interact with the vault. All or most of the strategy public functions are permissioned. Nobody can touch them. And it's the strategy, the one that is going to interact with other protocols or the DEXs. So Vault can have multiple strategies, but the strategy can only have 1 vault. That is because we only have 1 token per vault. We want to keep it simple for the users. So that's also, it's going to be easier when you build your first strategy, because you're only going to have to manage 1 token. Okay, let's go to this complicated diagram. It's not that complicated, actually. These are all the parts that interact with a strategy usually. So you have the keeper network, which are bots, basically. The vault, the strategy, a DeFi protocol. It can be, for example, Compound, that we're like depositing to Compound, borrowing money to get comp rewards. And then a DEX, Uniswap, SushiSwap, whatever you want to call it. Why we use a DEX always? Because we want to exchange the rewards, in the case of Compound, the comp token for more DAI, for example. That's the want token. The want token is DAI. We want to get more DAI. So how does it work? The numbers that you see there is the order in which the transactions, the actions are executed. So the first action is the keeper monitoring something that is called the harvest trigger. That's only a Boolean, but there's a logic behind telling the keeper, now it's a good moment to call harvest and to execute the next steps. Why? Because sometimes you want to accrue more tokens because of gas costs. Imagine having to recycle, I don't know, like every hour having to sell tokens on Ethereum. That's crazy. The gas cost would eat us alive. So when the harvest trigger is true, the keeper bot is going to run what we call harvest. The harvest function, it has simple tasks. The first one is that harvest is calling in the strategy. The strategy is going to claim the rewards from the DeFi protocol. It's going to get the rewards, and then just swap them in a DEX for more tokens that we want, the tokens that the vault is managing. The last 3 things, it's reporting to the vault the accounting, because with the vault shares, what it's going to increment is the price per share. And just that. You're not going to, it's not rebasing. You're not getting more tokens into your wallet. The price per share is the thing changing. It's going to execute at just position. At just position, we're going to see it a bit more later, but what it does is adjust the percentage of that allocation. Because if we assign to a strategy, for example, 1%, and because of the rewards, it ends up having 5% or whatever, we don't want that to happen, because remember that the percentages that we allocate are risk-based also. So we want to keep always the same debt allocation. When all that is done, send success, and that's it. All these complex diagrams, it's pretty much abstracted from you anyways. Well, this has been the boring part. Theory. Let's talk about what you need to write a strategy first. This is what I got when I wrote my first strategy. The software is like Git, Brownie, which is a development framework, Ganache, which is going to help you get a mainnet fork so you can test your strategy before deploying it. The Brownie mix is our repo. It's actually a template that you can use, and it has already made the tests and all the code in place with nodes that where you have to complete with the logic of your strategy. Some programming experience. So I used to code in PHP, and that's pretty much it. And I learned Solidity using crypto zombies, which is super fun. I did till level 4, and for me that was enough to be able to code a strategy. Then the 2 most important stuff, understanding how things work. Not only how the vault and the strategies interact, but also how the DeFi protocols interact between themselves, and how the slippage works and all that stuff. That's the important stuff. And a ton of willpower. You gotta sit down and start understanding how things work. So that requires hours sitting down in front of the computer and trying to figure things out. So you want to write a strategy, you have a great idea, but we have a process. This process is because we are focused on security. For us, security is super important. We never risk the principle. So that's why we have due diligence. That's the first step. Due diligence is a little investigation of the protocol. Then you code the strategy. Then 2 peers have to review it, because we all know how audits are these days. They are super expensive and they take a lot of time. If we have to audit every strategy, we're dead. We're going to lose every yield opportunity. Then it's go to experimental. Core dev review, which is an internal auditors inside of Yearn. The safe farming committee is going to review it, and then it goes to production. Let's go more in depth into these steps. Well, what do we check in the due diligence part? Well, actually, it's something the strategy has to do. For each new protocol, we do an in-depth investigation, not only of the code, like auditing the code, but also how it works and who is owning that contract. And that's super important. For example, you're going to see a lot of aspects here, but I like to highlight the raggability part. That is, are the owners of the contracts or the protocol able to rug pull the users, to take the user funds? For example, for multi-sigs, there seem to be super safe. It's like someone tell you, hey, yeah, we have a multi-sig. What's the threshold? 1 of 10. Now you have 10 people that are going to be able to execute transactions from that multi-sig. That's not good. That's not really good. So you have to also ask about the threshold and verify it on chain. So you need to have something like 3 of 5 or 6 of 9 people, so they cannot collude and steal your users' funds. And then we check the audit reports, how the protocol works, etc., etc. And we have a path to production, which is the process that the strategy is going to take to go to production. So well, now how to code. And this is only one slide because it's so simple. We did it in a workshop yesterday, and in 3 hours we had something simple working. So you clone the brownie mix strategy mix. And to code the strategy, you only need to code 3 basic functions. All the rest is going to be like dependencies from the code that you put in these 3 functions. The first one is adjust position. The only thing it does is invest the funds. It's going to, for example, deposit into a MasterChef contract, and that's it. The second one is the other way around. It's liquidate position. So what it's going to do is going to withdraw money from in this case, in our example, from a MasterChef contract. We want to assure to all our users that they can withdraw at any point in time. So there's no way for us to block the withdrawals in the vaults. And the final one is prepare return. This is the one that has a little bit more complexity because you have to build the logic behind your strategy pretty much there. This is the one that is going to claim the rewards, is going to sell the rewards using a DEX, and it's going to send a report to the vault saying, hey, this is how it went. This is how much we won or we didn't. So this is where the business logic goes. Well, and then write tests. That's also kind of boring. It's not nice. They take time to run. They're not fun. They're not glamorous. But it's the only way to assure that your strategy is not going to have problems in production. Let's see how this is the brownie mix. These are the tests that you're going to have by default when you use the repo. Those are like 4 tests because the conf test it's a configuration one. This is not the ideal scenario, but they say we test in prod. This is a production strategy. It has like, I don't know, 15 tests. This is the way to do it. You have to test everything possible, like every edge case. What happens if I airdrop some tokens to the strategy? Is it going to work well? Is it going to lock the rewards? All the weird stuff, we have to test it, because when we send it to production, it's too late. So let's say you go to your strategy, you have amazing tests, 2 peers reviewed your strategy, and you're able to publish it into ApeTags. ApeTags is not Yearn, it's a platform that the strategists maintain. We try to make it funny, but with the right disclaimer. That warning there says that if you deposit there, you're pretty much going to lose your money. This is the testing product we do. We choose 2 emojis, a funny name, and we try to promote it for users to deposit and to get like early yields for more risky things. But we're just testing it. This is testing. Next step. This is part of our process, the safe farming committee. So you have to convince a 12-people committee that your strategy is safe and it's worth going to production. So they're going to review the whole due diligence. They're going to ask a lot of questions, but it's pretty fast. If you're convinced that the strategy is good and it's performing well, it's going to be fast. Then a core team member is going to review it, because as I told you before, getting an audit here, it's impossible. So what we do is we get a review from a core team reviewer. We have 2 security auditors internally, and if the strategy is getting bigger and bigger, we get a committee, and then we get an audit. But after the strategy is already in production and reviewed by at least 3 or 4 people, and with some time in testing. So it's debunking also a bit the myth that we test in prod. There are stuff that you need to test in prod, but you need to make sure that all these steps are there. If not, maybe it's not going to work well. Well, this is the last step. This is like super verbose. I don't know why, because it's super simple. It's just sending it to governance. So when all this is done, governance is going to either endorse the vault, it's what we call it, it's a technical term if you want, the function we call in the registry we have, or add the strategy to a pre-existing vault. So if you are making a strategy for a new token, anyways, it's super easy. It's just pasting the address in one of the configuration parts of the deployment, and that's it. But it's going to deploy a new vault with a new strategy that you created and endorse it by governance. If not, it's going to attach it to a previously generated vault. Well, that's it. Your strategy is in production. You are great. Applause. You are making a lot of money. Yeah, but strategies are not something that you set and forget. At Yearn, we monitor everything, because I will get, again, the example of compound. When the compound rewards got stuck, got a problem, we were monitoring the time lock. So we knew ahead of time that those rewards were not going to be there, and the strategy might get locked. So we took preventive action, and nobody even noticed that we might have had an issue because we were monitoring. In DeFi, things change. So monitoring is essential. So you don't have to leave. It's not set it and forget it, and you get rich from one day to other. No, you have to keep monitoring, and you are the one who made the strategy. So stay around. You are the one who knows. So when something happens, you can help fix it. And that's it, guys. Help us build the future. You're welcome to join Yearn and start build the strategy together.
All right.